My name's Kelton. I'm 28. I have a net worth of $200,000. The only way I was really able to do this is living with my mom after school. I believe this is really the only option that young people have because the system that we're living in honestly is broken, at least for young people. So I want to help younger people build a financial foundation because when I was growing up, I had nobody to really teach me about finances. I had to learn all on my own, and with that came a lot of mistakes. So I want to keep it real with you. I want to give you a real life example that has happened in my life, comparing someone who does live with their family after graduation compared to someone who doesn't. Also, I want to give you the real data behind this. Of course, at the end, I want to give you the blueprint on how I was able to build a net worth of over $100,000 and give you the steps on how you can do that yourself. So my last semester in school, I was living with one of my best friends right now, and I have the opportunity after I graduated to live with him as well. But I had a pretty hard decision to make. Do I live with him or do I live with my mom and be able to stack bread? And I decided to live with my mom after school. And so instead of living with me, he lived with his girlfriend. And if we fast forward 4 years later, of course, you kind of know my story, but he was not able to do that. He actually went in the opposite direction. He has around $20,000 in credit card debt. He still has $50,000 in student loan debt. And his expenses are more than his income right now. And I had a really serious conversation with him about it because he is really heading down the wrong path when it comes to his income and his debt and his finances. So you can see the difference between the two, between myself and him, and how that can really affect you if you aren't able to build that financial foundation early in your life, especially in these times. And I know that story resonates with a lot of people because they're in the same situation, especially Gen Z. They're in immense amount of debt, immense amount of student loan debt, credit card debt. They aren't able to save. They aren't able to invest. They're in a situation where they don't really care because they can't get ahead. So now the part that's really important, the actual numbers in the system and what it looks like. And we're going to start at college. The average debt right now for a student is $30,000 when you're coming out of school. That's what the average person has. But what's most important is that this money takes away from things that you can do after you graduate, like buying food, looking for a house, renting a place. College is supposed to be a gateway into a good job market, but that's not the case anymore. AI is taking entry-level jobs away. And right now, most people who graduate college are actually underpaid. And so this underpayment on their return on investment basically means that they're getting paid less money. So that means less money they can pay towards their debt, less money they can put towards food, less money they can put towards rent. When you are rent burdened, it kind of creates a cycle. You pay more for rent, and when you pay more for rent, that delays home ownership. And when you delay home ownership, that means more years you have to pay for rent. Right now, the average age to buy your first home is 40 years old because people aren't able to get ahead to actually save money to put down a down payment to buy a house. And it doesn't make it any easier when the average house right now is over $400,000. And on top of that, monthly payments for these houses have also increased as well, around 99%, almost 2x since 2020. And everything else doesn't help this because since 2020, everything across the board has risen. Housing, food, transportation, utilities. So we're getting a scenario where you're getting underpaid, you have debt from college, you have to pay for all of this if you aren't able to live with your parents. Everything is up since 2020. This is just not a good scenario for young people to get into. But this data and the numbers, it doesn't matter if you don't know what to do with it. And this gets into the steps that I was talking about. And the first step, again, like I mentioned, is living with a family member. I know every situation is different. Maybe you aren't able to do that. When you are in that situation, and hopefully you are able to get into it, number 2 is aggressively paying off your debt. Debt is the first thing you need to do. That is what I did. When it came to student loans, I did nothing else but pay off my student loans. I didn't save, I didn't invest. All I did first was pay off my student loans. Aggressively do that. The third thing is building an emergency fund. This is what I did next. So after I paid off my student loan debt, I started to build my emergency fund because things in life happen. You know, you get a flat tire, your car breaks down, something happens, you have a medical bill, you get injured. You need to have money for those situations. So $5,000 for an emergency fund is fine. That's the minimum, I would say. The golden rule is 3 to 6 months of your expenses. But I think $5,000 is honestly pretty good for most people because most Americans don't even have $1,000 saved. Number 4, and this is what some people do talk about, but I think they get it wrong, is getting multiple streams of income. And this doesn't mean like drop shipping or Forex trading or anything like that. Trust me, I've tried those. What I really mean is doing something on the weekend. I love to be in the gym. I like to lift weights. So I did personal training. I've started up personal training. That brings in a second stream of income. Building multiple streams of income is very important for younger generations, especially right now. You can walk dogs, you can Uber, you can Lyft, you can DoorDash. There are many things that you can do. It'll give you extra money to invest, to save, to kind of fall back on. But having multiple streams of income and implementing that right now is very important, because when you have two streams of income, it's easier to get 3, easier to get 4, easier to get 5. And the last thing, and the most important, is protecting yourself against inflation. What do I mean by that? That basically means that year over year we have inflation. That means the devaluation of the dollar. Right now it's about 4%. That's because of Iran and everything that's going on with gas prices. The Fed usually likes to have it at 2. And so if you don't save money, if you don't invest money, if you don't put your money somewhere where it can make more money, you're just losing money. The income that you get, you're just losing money over time. And so what I did is, of course, I invested. VOO, the overall stock market, the ETF of the overall stock market, total return year over year is around 14%. With inflation right now at 4%, that's about 10%. But that's still, I'm making 10% year over year on my money. A high yield savings account, not a savings account at Bank of America, not a savings account at Wells Fargo, high yield savings account. Anything over about 3% right now is high yield, because that's the best way to create an emergency fund, also make money off of it, also protect your money against inflation. You have to save, you have to build a financial foundation for yourself, because if you don't, you are screwed. You are screwed. Bro, you are screwed for real. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you stick around for this series. Again, I want to help you with your finances because I have been there. I have done that.